Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dragatos and lagartos, or both, as I just said. I'm your host, as always, Sam Fonseca, and welcome back to the ninth episode of the Sporting Updates podcast. I'm joined today by my right-hand man, as always, Steph. How you doing today, Steph?
I'm doing pretty good. Today is going to be a really good podcast. We have some amazing friends of ours, personal friends of mine, Bruno, Freire being Portista, but he's like a brother. We've known each other for a long, long time. Bishop Teixeira, I'm always hanging out with him and his family, so known him for a long, long time. And his wife is Portuguese, which is a good thing. And then Mikey from 3Tugas, I've known him for quite a while too. A great Portuguese, so it's going to be a great podcast today. Watch out, guys.
Yep, like Steph said, we are joined by three guests today. I'll introduce the Portistas first. First off, we have a man called Mr. Rich Teixeira. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good. I was a bit late, but I'll survive. I'm a party animal, so I'm used to staying up late hours in the morning. The other Portista is a member of the 3Tugas. His name is Bruno. How are you doing today, Bruno?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me. This is, we're kind of going over the rivals' boundaries here, but it's all good.
Let's hope it stays that way as well. And
finally, we're listening. We all get along, not like that other crew from the other side of Lisbon.
Yeah, as long as there's none of them, we should be fine.
Listen, I don't want any trouble with any cadeirantes. That's the one problem. I don't want any trouble with cadeirantes.
Finally, we have another member of the 3Tugas, and his name is Mike. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here with you all.
No, thank you all for coming on today. It should be a good one, as Steph mentioned earlier. We'll start off with the Twitter questions. We got some from both Porto and Sporting. I'll divide the questions up. We'll start with a Porto question. This one comes from Kevin, and he asks, "Do Portistas think we will keep everyone in January? And if so, who leaves? And if we should buy anyone else?" And I'll give that one to Bruno first.
Without question, I don't see Porto selling anyone. First of all, as is, we have already a limited roster. I don't see anybody being sold unless it's for like an absolute ridiculous amount of money. Someone's going to come and pay the transfer fee. Other than that, no chance. Will we buy someone? I wouldn't be surprised if we bought a center back or if we bought another striker or maybe a winger. I would not be totally surprised if that happened.
Fair enough. Rich, what do you think?
To Bruno's point, yeah, I agree. I don't think we will be selling anyone. If we do sell, though, I doubt that we will. We probably will sell forward. But how Abubakar and Barega are playing so well together, hopefully that doesn't happen. But if we do buy someone, this transfer window coming in the winter, I hope it's a winger because I just can't see. I see that we're struggling in that position. I mean, Corona has his days that he plays really well, but I think that Sergio Conceição is really trying to find a replacement for him. So hopefully we find someone.
Rich, I don't know which games you watch, and I have not seen Corona play well.
Yeah, well, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but most of the games he's been playing like shit. So, I mean, he keeps trying, but I mean, it's not working for him. So I think he's not built for the 4-4-2 formation. So I don't know.
He's terrible.
He saved us a couple of times though, so I can't say anything.
Well, the only thing that this guy has done well, and we all talked about this, on 3Tugas, is that he had a good game. Well, he had a good goal against Braga, and that was it.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
On to the next question as well. This one is from related question, and I'll give this one to Steph first. And asked, Sporting looks good this season, but would you bring anyone else in the position? And if so, what position would it be?
Okay, so so far it looks like I would buy another winger, definitely, and either a striker or give Jason Dollar a real chance. So again, I was about to mention it later, but I'll do it now. You play for the B team. against Santa Clara, and so people can understand why it's so his performance was so important. Santa Clara was in first place in the second division of Portugal, so Santa Clara is a good team, and he had a hat trick and an assist. So it's wake up, JJ. Give Jason Dollar a chance. We have the perfect game coming up on the 15th of October against Oleiros, Taça de Portugal. So that's a perfect game to see what he's got. And so yeah, I would get another winger and a striker.
Mike, what do you think?
Can you repeat the question again for me if you don't mind?
Yeah, no worries. So the question is started off with Sporting looked good this season, but if you had to improve any position by bringing someone in the transfer market, pretty much, what position would you buy?
So Steph already mentioned Gelson Dall's opportunity that's needed and that all the Angolan fans keep clamoring for on the social media. But I personally think we need some more options on the wings. We can't run Gelson every single game, 90 minutes. He gets frustrating sometimes to watch. So I think we need a little help on the wings.
Mm-hmm.
I think our fullback position, I'm really not completely sold on Jonathan Silva as a replacement for Fabio Coentrão. It appears that Fabio Coentrão is going to be going to be able to play 2-3 games. So I would probably say add another winger to the roster and probably another left back.
Fair enough. I would also agree with a winger spot, but I also think maybe we should bring in a replacement, a backup midfielder as well, just for Battaglia if he gets injured. I feel like we don't have a lot of depth. We have Petrovic, we have not Battaglia, Pellegrini, but I feel like we need a good midfielder to replace Battaglia if he gets injured as well.
Yeah, that's a good option. Or you can always drop William back into that holding role and just manipulate the midfield somehow with some different players. You drop Bruno Fernandes back, but you obviously lose in the attack when you do that, and in the press and the recuperation of the ball and stuff. So there's different variables, but I could see a midfield option, definitely a wing option. I think those are the two most pressing options right now, to be quite honest, and maybe even an option up top, because Alan Ruiz appears to not be cutting it. It looks like George Lou doesn't like Gelson Dalla, doesn't rate him, even though he kept him on the squad. Doumbia is going to be out injured. Who knows if Bas Dost is going to continue to be MIA all season. So there's a handful of questions, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, actually. Maybe another striker. But to be fair, I don't see anyone coming in permanently. I see a few loans maybe coming in, but I don't think they'd sign anyone permanently in January, just because I'm not sure how much we have left to spend, because it was an expensive summer window. So I'm not sure.
Absolutely. And don't forget, we got Bodens coming back too. We saw his little cameo at the end of the Clásico. He's back from his hand injury. He could deputize out on the wing if necessary, if we really need to stretch the game out, or he can operate right underneath one of the strikers, or as he's obviously not going to be the target man, but he could operate as, say, like a false nine, if you will, if we ever have to play in that formation.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. I'll move on to another Porto question as well. I'll give this one to Rich first, and this one's from Danny, and he says, why have some of the Porto outcasts, such as Abubakar Marega, why have they stepped up so much this year?
Well, that's a good question, Danny. I think that Sergio Conceição has a big part of that. It seems like with Nuno, he, as much as he tried to bring the Espírito of Porto back, he wasn't able to do it. And Nuno didn't give these guys credit. That's why he loaned them out. But I was always excited to see Abubakar come back. Marega, I was a little surprised actually with how well he's playing. I mean, he did show he had that Porto spirit last season at the Taça de Portugal final against Benfica, where a Benfica fan told him to go back to Porto, and he kind of wanted to fight him for it. So I was like, oh, I guess he does really care about Porto. But I again, I have to say, I think Sergio Conceição is a big part of that. He has them motivated and playing well. And for Marega, he didn't even start the season in the starting 11. He benefited from Suarez's injury, and Sergio Conceição has been rolling with him ever since. So I think that Sergio Conceição is a big part of it. What would you say, Bruno?
Well, I mean, I have to agree. Now the question is, what is the reason? What, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Right, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason is this: it's basically one thing. It's motivation. When a player's motivated, they're going to go all out and they're going to try to prove something to someone. Someone must have gotten his ear and said, "Hey, listen, we don't think you can do it anymore." Well, what do you mean I can't do it anymore? I was brought here for a reason, and he's proven his point. And it's also like they're kind of just kind of say, "Hey, listen, Nuno, F you. You cut me last year and I know I was better than the guys that were here prior. For example, De Poitre, and now they're proving it." And it was like Abubakar helped Besiktas win a title that they haven't won in some time. Marega, came back after a sensational year at Guimarães, and basically, he's really surprising everyone because I remember at the last day of the transfer window, we had an offer for 15 million for him from Brighton, and we said no. And I was like, how do you not take 15 million for a guy like Marega? But thankfully they didn't because he's a guy that we really need right now, and he's making a world of a difference. So I think it all comes down to one thing, which is called motivation.
Fair enough. I'd agree with that too. We've got one more sporting question as well, and it's from Danny again. And he asks, will Bastos get anywhere near the amount of goals he scored last year? And I'll give that one to Mike first.
By the looks of it, probably not, unless he starts turning it up and starts burying some goals that are wide open for him with these opportunities he's getting. I don't see him replicating his production from last season at all at this rate. Is he capable of doing it? Is he capable of going on a streak and having several games with a brace, a hat trick here and there? It's very possible against some of the lower teams in the league, that play with a low block and stuff. But I truly and honestly, at this rate, do not see him doing it. I don't know what is up with his confidence. I don't know why he's trying to turn into more of a provider than an actual lethal finisher, which is what he is. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about the Clásico. There were some opportunities where instead of taking the chances, he tries to pass it off himself, and as well in the Barcelona game. I just don't know. I mean, unless he turns up in the next game or so, or in the game against Juventus, because obviously Doumbia is more than likely going to be out, so Dust will get that spot. I mean, unless he starts scoring goals now, there's no way he's going to score 30 plus this season the way he did last.
Mikey, can I interject on that?
Oh, go on. Yeah, go on. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, go.
I think it's one thing that, and we talked about this on 3Tugas, Mikey, is the fact that last year he was a newcomer to the league. So we had the Portuguese coaches had a whole offseason on figuring out how to mark him. They were breaking down film, and they figured out how to mark this guy. And that's exactly what's going on right now is they figured out how to mark Bas Dost, and Sporting is now struggling to get him the ball inside the box because he's so well marked. If you watch games, he's completely taken out of games because of the rigorous marking that they give him. So I think it has a lot to do with, and you have to give a lot of credit to these Portuguese coaches that are in the league. They studied and they completely took him out of the game.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if he gets this, he thrives on service, and he hasn't been getting much of it lately. At the end of the day, if he still gets the balls in the air the way he should, because that's where he's going to win all his battles are in the air. He's still going to win an aerial battle against any defensive pairing in the Portuguese league, even Felipe and Marcano, even though Felipe and Marcano were tight on him this past weekend, but there were no balls in the air for him. There were balls that were all waist down. If he gets anything that's waist up, he's going to beat any defender in the air for that. I don't care how tight you mark them in. Obviously, he's not the fastest. He's not going to play off the shoulder of the last defender. But like I said, if he gets the service he needs in the air, he's still going to bury the goals. It's just, I think it's more of a confidence issue. I do see what you're saying, though, with coaches now having a second season, having an off season to look at tape and, see how to try to stop him and things of that nature. But I still think he can beat anyone in an aerial duel. He just hasn't been getting the service that he requires.
Fair enough.
Steph, what do you think?
Well, definitely, as a Sportingista fan, of course, I want to see Bas Dost scored the 34 goals like he performed last season. But like Mike said and like Bruno said, it's a combination of both. And I did say it before in our podcast that the coaches in the Liga NOS, they know much better, so they're marking better. But it's up to him to find the open space as well. Any good striker finds that open space. And then Piccini, Fábio Coentrão, Acuna, Gelson Martins, Bruno Fernandes, they need to find him too. They need to give him better crosses. He hasn't been given the crosses he needs to score. Against Porto, for example, one play between Bas Dost and Bruno Fernandes, he was totally upset because instead of passing the ball to Bas Dost, he decided to take the shot, Bruno Fernandes, and he got really pissed about that. So yeah. So it's like Mikey said, he needs better crosses, and like Bruno said, the league knows him better now. But if you're a good striker, you will find that open space. So there it is. But we have a couple more questions, Hans.
Okay, let me just give my 2 cents on it, and then I'm going to let you ask some more.
Okay.
I think that Bas Dost isn't entirely to blame, like you guys are saying. I feel Gelson's poor form doesn't help the fact that Bas Dost can't score. But Acuna, on the other hand, is playing pretty well. But usually the assist came from Gelson and his side last year. So I'd say, as to be fair, Dost has missed like a few not open goals, but like one-on-ones and just easy goals, but sometimes he just doesn't get the service which he needs, and that's why I think he's struggling this year. So I don't think he'll get as many as he scored last year. I expect him to still get at least 20. So yeah.
I mean, earlier at the beginning of the season, sorry, Sam, were you finished there?
No, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, go on. I'm just taking a drink.
Yeah. So earlier in the season, obviously on our show on the 3Tugas, I had mentioned, I was really raving about Acuna and his left foot, and that I was going to expect a lot of service from him to Bas Dost because his pass accuracy is good. I was expecting more from Acuna on set plays and things like that. But it looks like Acuna's performing better on the defensive side of the ball than he is on the offensive side of the ball.
Indeed.
So far. He hasn't really been providing much in terms of offense.
Nope.
He's been providing a whole damn lot in terms of defense. It seems like we've flipped the script this season, whereas last season we were very light at the back and very, fragile at the back, but very prolific up top. It seems like this year we've tightened up significantly along the back line, but now we just can't get the goals unless it's a super strike from Bruno Fernandes or a nice free kick from Mathieu or a Gelson breakaway or something like that on a counter. In terms of build-up play, I don't see much coming from this Sporting team right now. We've hit a little bit of a rut. What's that? 4 games that were winless, 3 draws, 1 loss. Are we in a crisis? I don't really think we're in a crisis. I think we've played well in some of these games, not so much obviously in the Classic, but I don't know. I just expect a lot more from Acuna in terms of service for Bas Dost. It's just that it seems like he's been having to help Fábio Coentrão out more, and especially when he plays with Jonathan Silva on that left side, he definitely has to help Jonathan Silva out a lot more. I really like it when Acuna and Gelson switch flanks. I think when they switch flanks and they cut inside and they play as inverted wingers, I think they could provide a little more service that Bas Dost could benefit from, but we're yet to see it.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that too. Jonathan Silva is another big reason why Acuna doesn't get as forward as much as he likes, just because Jonathan Silva I'd say he easily loses the ball, so Acuna has to run back and get it. Whereas Fábio Coentrão, he's not as he once was, but he's much more professional, much more of a complete left back than Silva is. So for me, Acuna struggles with Jonathan Silva.
Oh, so much, because Jonathan Silva's positioning is awful. Jonathan Silva's positioning needs to be worked on tremendously. As you could see, it's either you can either call it a bad pass from guys like Bataglia or Bruno Fernandes or Acuna or William, but it's truly and honest, or Mathieu and Coates for that matter, but it's truly and honestly Jonathan Silva not being in the right position when he should be, when the team's trying to press up and play out of the back. Especially in this last game, there was several passes that went astray that he should have been on the end on, but he was either a step too short or he was either, 20, 30 yards away from the position he actually should have been occupying in terms of bringing the attack forward with respect to the placement of the central defenders and Bataglia dropping in between them. But, I don't know. It's just there's a lot of things that go into getting the service to Bas Dost, and it's just not happening yet. I'm sure Jorge Jesus is aware of it, and he's going to try to fix it. He has 2 weeks to do that now during the break, so we'll see what happens when we get back in action.
But to all fairness, about Jonathan Silva, quite a few times when they pass the ball to him, they shank the ball. Even a few times, Jeremy Mathieu even waved his hand saying, "I'm sorry about that. It's my fault." I know Jonathan Silva is an easy target from most of Portuguese, but on the Porto game, it was a 50-50. He was guilty of 50% of it. But 50% of it as well, it was Bataglia with shitty passes or Jeremy Mathieu. A few times it was them too, way too strong or way too far from him.
Yep.
I know he needs to improve, but I watched the game and I'm like, what the hell is this? But that's it.
Yeah, his first touch isn't the greatest either.
No, he doesn't have a first touch at all.
Steph, you had more questions, you said?
Yeah, we have 2 more questions. So we have one from Johnny Cinero, and he said, how will we react now that Doumbia is out injured for 2 months? And I'll give it to Mike.
2 months? Yeah. I heard 3 weeks. I don't know. I guess there are conflicting reports out there. But whatever the case may be, we got Podence. Podence is back from injury, so it's as if it's perfect timing for one to come back in and one to be out. I think the problem we're going to have is that I'm thinking about is really that Juventus game, because Doumbia is ideal for these European games against these bigger clubs where we have to show them a little more respect than we would against the side in the Portuguese league, where we would have to press and let them hold the ball and try to press them up high. I think that's where we're going to suffer. But in terms of the Portuguese league, I think we'll be just fine. I think Podence will come right back in and help out Bas Dost up top. Obviously, Alan Ruiz still may or may not get another chance to try to redeem himself for Jorge Jesus before Jorge Jesus fully cuts him off and gets ready to ship him out in January. If it's truly 2 months that Doumbia is going to be out, it's a long time. We got some big games coming up, especially in the Champions League with that back-to-back against Juventus. That's essentially going to determine whether or not we make it out of the group, I think, those 2 games. But I think we'll be okay. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think we would have been hurting more if we would have lost a player like William or Bataglia or even Coates or Mathieu for a 2-month period. I think without Doumbia, I think we'll be okay because first and foremost, he's not a starter in the league. And we have guys coming back from injury, like I mentioned, like Podence, who could play that role if necessary. So I think we'll be all right. I just wish him a speedy recovery and hope it's really a 3-week injury and not a 2-month injury.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Sam.
I agree with pretty much everything you said, but I like Steph said before we started, I hope he gives Jocelyn Dalla a chance, but I don't see it happening. But for me, Podence is one that guy who shows up in big games. So hopefully he maybe comes off the bench. I don't want him to start against Juventus, but Podence is a player with pace who we need, because Juventus are a very, very defensive team. So we need to break their defense with pace, not with Bas Dost, crossing, trying to cross it into Bas Dost and then just not happening. So for me, I think we'll be all right as well. But as long as Bas Dost doesn't get injured as well, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. If Bas Dost goes down, then we have problems. We have serious questions to be asked of Jorge Jesus' coaching abilities, tactical shifts that may need to take place in the team. Because, like I said, if God forbid Bas Dost is to go out now in this time frame that Doumbia is out, what do you do? Who do you play in that spot? You could really play with, probably Acuna and play Bruno Fernandes up top and Podence underneath Bruno Fernandes. Because Bruno Fernandes likes playing in that position right underneath the striker. And if anything, we could leave him kind of just let him roam free in that in that area of the field anyway. He won't be a target man or anything like that. We'll have to adapt to his style. We won't, we'll have to retract from the wing play and things like that. But I think there'd be options there, but I'd hate to see Bazados go down at this time too. That'd be terrible.
Well, you know what? Let's not talk about it. So let's cross our
let's
fingers
not jinx the guy.
let's not jinx it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's not jinx the big
anyway,
Dutchman,
Yeah, but listen, I'll put in my 2 cents really fast. So I agree with both of you, and now it's the time for Podence to shine. He has to dribble a little bit less. He has to be more aware of his surroundings and pass the ball to the open space. And then also it'll be the time for Justin Dalla to show Jorge Jesus what he's showing everybody when he plays in the B team, which is very competitive. I've watched second division games. They're a lot tougher at times than the first division games. So those two players, now that Doobie is hurt, it'll be their time to shine. And let's not forget also about, it's a name that we haven't spoken about, but Yudim Deix. He'll have time to redeem himself. I still believe in him pretty much. He's only 22 years old. He has a lot of room to improve. So I'm expecting great things from this young and having a couple bad games. But you know what? I'm pretty sure that he will show up one of these days and show all these skills. Now we have one more question. This one is from Egiad, and I'm impressed with Porto. Are we going to use the excuse Sporting were more tired?
Wait, say that again?
So he's basically saying that are we using the excuse that Sporting was tired? That's why Porto played better?
No, for me, Porto was just the better team on that day, to be honest. Even though it was a 0-0, but it was clearly that Porto was much more attacking than us. I feel like they were more confident. Maybe because a loss against Barcelona didn't help as well. I would say part of it is down to fatigue, but not all of it. I've seen us play much better games than that, if in the so-called fatigue. So for me, Porto was just a better team on the night, and it was a 0-0, but maybe should have not been the correct scoreline. Mikey, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that. I mean, I'm not going to use the excuse of one team being more tired than the other. Yeah, Porto had an extra day of rest than us, but they didn't have a as difficult game as we did midweek in the Champions League. Porto played a game where it was more 50-50. They were able to, they weren't running after the ball for the majority of the game, whereas Sporting was. But that's no excuse. You know what I mean? The players play on the same pitch. The players, the ball is round for both teams. It just so happened that Porto came out, especially in that first 45, to try to win the game in that first 45. In the second 45, you could tell that Sporting tried to pick up the pace, try to play a little bit more, but Porto was sound defensively. Their positioning was great. Marcano and Felipe were cutting everything that was coming their way, or they were getting in front of every shot that was trying to be taken. They were blocking everything. I just think Porto was better on the day, created more opportunities than Sporting. But, Sporting had a couple of opportunities too to score a goal or two throughout the course of the game. But we'll talk to that when we go do the analysis of the match.
Yeah, so basically, we'll get into it, like Mike said, more into detail. So, Sam, back at you, and let's get the Portistas involved in this discussion because they've been too quiet now.
Okay, let's start with the game analysis then. I guess we don't have any other questions. So, obviously, like I said, the game was a 0-0. The lineups as followed. For Sporting, we had Rui Patricio in goal, Cristiano Piccini, El Patrón Sebastián Coates, Jeremy Mateu, Jonathan Silva, William Carvalho, Rodrigo Battaglia, Marcos Acuna, Gelson Martins, Bruno Fernandes, and Bas Dost. For Porto, we had Iker Casillas, Alex Telles, Felipe Marcano Layun, Danilo, Hector Herrera, Sergio Oliveira, surprisingly, Brahimi, Abubakar, and Marega. So, who wants to start off their analysis then?
Let Bruno let Bruno have it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let one of the Porto guys take that.
Well, I mean, my analysis is pretty simple. Porto seemed like they wanted to take advantage of the quote unquote fatigue. And, I just wanted to add a little side note of that. The Cableta teams, the Cableta coach teams, doesn't matter if it's Benfica or Sporting, he always comes with that excuse of, oh, the other opponent had an extra day's rest or whatever. It's, you know what? He's got to start looking at himself and start saying, listen, I might need a different physical preparation kind of guy because my teams are always tired after the second game of the week. So I don't really buy that, and Steph and I have talked about that off the air, that we don't buy it. Porto definitely was taking the game to them as much as they could. They went after Sporting. They wanted to control the game from the get-go. They were hoping to get a couple of goals in the beginning of the game. It just never was able to happen. Porto was not able to finalize their chances. We had a ball off the crossbar. We had a Bubakar, isolated one-on-one with the keeper. He made a bad decision on the ball. Other than that, I think Sporting was only held to 2 shots, I think, in the whole first half. If anything, one was, the ball got knocked over the crossbar by Iker Casillas. The other one, I don't even remember what it was.
Well, the first shot was on the 40th minute.
Yeah, it was very, very low performance in terms of attacking by Sporting. Porto played a lot of, surprisingly, they held Bruno Fernandes in complete check. I think Sergio Oliveira did a nice job in shadowing him for a lot of the time. William Carvalho was not comfortable. Herrera did, and I've said it in the 3Tugas podcast. I'm not a fan of Herrera, but he did do a nice defensive job on William Carvalho because they couldn't get him the ball. And Sporting's attack all starts with William Carvalho, and when you can't get him the ball and you got to go elsewhere, Sporting looked a little clueless of what to do.
Can I just interrupt you for a second there?
Go ahead.
So you were talking about Hector Herrera. What did you think of when he could have put Layun through on goal and instead he took the shot and went over the bar? If you remember that play correctly.
I do remember it, Sam. And and where Steph and I come from, we call him a brush. A brush is
Broshista.
Yeah, I mean, that's typical Hector Herrera, though, for Porto. This is what we've seen the last couple of years, is just making terrible decisions on the ball. And he made one more. And it really hurt Porto because we don't know what would have happened on that play if he played the ball through. Could have a ball across the box, maybe a shot on goal. We don't know. But that's Hector Herrera being Hector Herrera offensively. Defensively, I think he just did a nice job getting the ball or forcing Sporting to go somewhere else with the ball other than William Carvalho. William Carvalho did not look very comfortable throughout the entire game. Again, Bruno Fernandes was not a factor in the game. I mean, he had one clear opportunity, and that was it. Other than that, he was pretty much blanked out. Bas Dost, you didn't even hear about him throughout the whole entire game. And then the fullbacks, I think Pacini was owned by Brahimi, and unfortunately, we just couldn't get enough clear chances created by Brahimi on the outside because he did a fabulous job always beating Pacini. And I think the man of the match, and I think I'd be surprised if anyone would disagree, is without question Rui Patricio. I mean, he had a very good game.
I'd agree. For Porto, who would you say their man of the match was? Because I would say Brahimi.
Oh, no question, Brahimi. Brahimi was a guy that set the pace, set the tone, set the tempo of the game. Offensively, he was looking to go to goal every time he got the ball. And unfortunately, we were off our mark. It seemed like a game, it was like the Besiktas game, which a lot of people criticize how Porto played. I personally thought that Porto didn't play bad. It's just that we just didn't score goals on the opportunities that we had. Versus in this one, we just didn't score the opportunities that we had, but we did create the chances. And it would have been a completely different league if Porto was actually able to come away with this win.
Yeah, fair enough. Rich, do you want to give your opinion on the game?
Yeah, I mean, Bruno covered most of it, but I had to agree. Rui Patricio, São Patricio, he saved you guys. I can't believe how well he played that match. Like that ball that was off the post, and then I think Abubakar headed, and then he still saved it with one hand, like without balance. Like that was incredible. And then also in the second half, I think yeah, Porto had an opportunity where they had a quick throw in, and then Octavio crosses it to Marega. But I think Patricio was the one that just. I think it was actually a bad cross too. But I
I
mean,
think
Marega.
wasn't it Abubakar?
No, it
No,
was Marega.
I believe it was
It was
Marega.
Marega. Okay.
Yeah, it was Marega. Rui Patricio was just quick off the line. That's one of the best parts of his game.
Yeah, he made himself big there, and he was really fast on that one. But yeah, Sporting's defense was off guard too because it was like they didn't know what if the throw-in was theirs or whatever. So Porto just took it really quickly. But yeah, everything you said, I agree. I think Alex Telles also. I think he had a really good game as well. A lot, yeah, like from the beginning, I was like, man, this guy's playing rough, like tough, and his crosses, he was doing a lot of dangerous plays. Who else? Marcano, I think he did a terrific job in the back, covering Bastos. You know, like Bruno said, Bastos was really quiet the whole game. And the only opportunity that I would say I was nervous about was in the second half when Porto was a little tired and Sporting was picking it up, and Bruno Fernandes takes the ball away from Danilo and he just shoots a field goal. But that was like the most where my heart just stopped. I'm like, oh no, please. But you know, Porto had most of the opportunities. They had a terrific first half. Like Bruno said, I think they were trying to take advantage of Sporting's tired legs. But I agree that Jorge Jesus can't blame just because we had one more day of rest. I mean that doesn't mean anything. But yeah, I mean I think Sergio Oliveira também he's playing really good. I'm happy that Sergio Conceição is putting confidence on this guy. And yeah, Porto should have won, but the tie was also a good result considering Sporting did play really well in the second half as well. So, but if Porto buried their opportunities, we would have been talking about a different game. But
Rich, don't forget that it's also a good result that the Cadeirenses also tied in Marítimo. No Bailinho da Madeira.
Oh, pá, tu estás fodido, meu.
Which they actually should have
Não te
lost.
esqueças.
If Spinu scores on that breakaway, oh my God, it's a serious crise in land.
Não, não é Carnidland, é Cadeirense. Os Cadeirenses agora, epá, já sabes. Olha, as cadeiras iam a voar mesmo.
Ouve lá, e qual é a data da fundação?
1908 ou 1906, é 1908.
Não, 8 ou 4 é confusão deles.
Não, não ouve lá. O 1904 é uma invenção deles.
Ok.
Não te esqueças disso. Isso é lá um farmacêutico lá com a porta 18 que snifou não sei o quê, um pó qualquer. Some white powder, forget it. The guy is off his rocker with 1904. 1904 what? 1908.
Let's go back to our Sporting Porto game.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask Rich who you thought man of the match was.
Who did I think man of the match was?
Yeah.
Hands down, I had to say it was Rui Patricio for Sporting. For Porto, I would say it's Brahimi.
Okay, fair enough. Steph, I'll let you go next.
Okay, so basically, the game was a shitty game for Sporting. The excuse of Porto getting an extra day of rest, that's total bullshit. I don't buy that. If you want to be...
Don't forget that, Steph, remember what you also mentioned, and it was a good point when we spoke. It was also that Porto also had to travel, and Sporting did not.
Well, Portugal to France is not a big distance either. So
it's that an hour flight.
Yeah, they flew. So it's not like they went to China, But anyway, I see your point. But the thing is, if you want to, Sporting lately, if you pay attention to the stadium, they have been putting signs saying queremos ser os melhores da Europa. Okay, fine. That's what I want too. But when my coach says, "Oh, my players were exhausted because we had one less day of rest than Porto," then we're never going to be like Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or Barcelona or Manchester United because we always coming up with fucking excuses. So if we want to be the best of the best, we have to start thinking that way and playing that way. We can come up with bullshit excuses all the time. Porto dominated the game, the first half and the second half. The second half, okay, we did better. We did better, yeah, because at one point the midfield for both teams was kind of tired. Everyone saw that, but I believe Porto they had a total of 7 chances to score. 7. We had two bullshit ones. One Bruno Fernandes inside the box. He totally shanked the ball, and one from William Carvalho when he headed the ball with his head and shoulder, which was an easy save by Casillas. But besides that, we didn't have anything much to offer. I mean, I am Sportingista, don't get confused, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The truth is, we played at home like crap. Porto owned us. They played much better. The man of the match, I believe, it was voted Jeremy Mathieu, but actually for me, it was also Patricio. But when you as a Sportingista recognize that Rui Patricio, Jeremy Mathieu, and Coates were the best players of the match, wow, that says a lot. It says that we played really bad because offensively we didn't click. We kept on missing that final pass. That happened to Barcelona. We could have tied the game against Barcelona, but we could never make that final pass. And if you don't make that pass to Bas Dost or to Doumbia or to Jason Dalla, maybe one day we'll play, hopefully, then they will never score. So the problem is our strikers, they're not getting the balls they need to score. And that's a huge problem. But on this game with Porto, hands down to Porto, they played better than us. We're lucky to have a draw. This draw was I welcome this draw. Complete opposite than the one from Moreirense. The one from Moreirense was bullshit because you lose the championships against the small teams, not against these big teams. Because Sporting actually does better when they play away. We have a better ratio of wins when we play at the Zantas or the Luz than when we play at home. So this is what we call in the Portuguese gíria, jogo de tripla. We could lose, tie, or win easily. Nobody knows what will be the final score. So, just to recap on the whole thing, the man of the match for me was São Patricio. And for Football Club Porto, I liked Felipe and on defense. I think he was very consistent. And Mike, what do you think?
What do I think? So Porto comes into this game in the first half firing on all cylinders. They're in our house. Sporting clearly is looking tired. It's a combination of Sporting looking tired and Porto pressing on the gas really, really hard from the onset of the game. Porto created several opportunities that they could have buried in the first half, but either Rui Patricio came up big or they just shanked it. I remember there was one play, there's a little combination between Brahimi and Abubakar just sets the ball up with a first touch and turns and blasts a shot that goes just wide. I think Patricio's beat if that's on goal. I think that was a very good opportunity for Porto. But again, Porto came out in that first half and they wanted to win that game in the first 45 minutes based on the way they played, based on the pressure they were putting on Sporting and the way they kept Sporting off, essentially away from their final third. Like someone already had mentioned, Sporting only got their first shot after 38, 40 minutes or something like that. That's uncommon for a Sporting team, especially a Jorge Jesus Sporting team, especially at home. Porto complete domination in the first half. I may even go on and say that was Porto's best 45 minutes so far this season in the league, even though they didn't score or didn't convert on any of their opportunities. They did play very well. Sporting was very lucky to go in at halftime at 0-0 and regroup. Must be said, we also had a very clear opportunity with Wilson right at the six. With William right at the six, right outside, right near the near post, to essentially with a free header that he could have put past Casillas. Instead, doesn't time his jump properly, and the ball ends up hitting him on his neck and his shoulder, and it goes in an awkward position. It forces an awkward save out of Casillas because it's kind of looping right under the crossbar, and Casillas puts it over the bar for another corner. But that's the only chance we had in the first half, whereas Porto had several opportunities in that first half, and Rui Patricio had to come up big in that first half for us, and he did. It looked like our players had a hard time building out of the back as usual. A couple of players seemed to not be at their best in that game. Battaglia with a lot of bad passes. Bruno Fernandes with several bad passes. Jonathan Silva unable to retrieve a pass or be properly positioned to receive a pass. Gelson Martins can't make a decision, doesn't know whether he wants to run the ball to the end line or cut back one more time or play the ball back. Piccini's good one-on-one defensively, but coming forward, he seems like once he gets in the final third, he runs out of ideas. So it was a very poor first half from Sporting. Like I said, lucky to go in at halftime at 0-0. Second half, we're all expecting the pace to slow down come the 60th, 70th minute mark, being that both teams had games in the Champions League in midweek, and that's exactly what happened. The game slowed down. Porto still had control of the game at 0-0 because they knew that they were able to keep Sporting in front of them, and they were able to let Sporting have the ball because Sporting had really nothing going in terms of offense in the middle of the field. They had to essentially just rely on wing play, which wasn't getting them anywhere. Anytime any ball would come into the area, Marcon or Fleet would be there to be able to clear it out, or the ball would just be out of the reach of either of the defenders and also either Bas Dost. I think Sporting played better in the second half, didn't generate as many opportunities as I would have liked them to, especially playing at home. That Bruno Fernandes opportunity, that was a great pick on Danilo on his part. He really snuck in on Danilo without him realizing that. I'm a little torn as to whether or not Bruno Fernandes should take that shot or let the ball settle and then pass it to Bas Dost, or let the ball settle and move in a little bit closer and then kind of just pass it into the goal, if you know what I mean, rather than go for power from right there. I don't know. The way Bruno Fernandes has been playing, I have nothing against him taking that shot. Obviously, he missed it. He skied it. It didn't work out. But on any other day, I would have wanted him to pass it to Bas Dost. But given the fact that he's been having a decent success rate with at least hitting the target, I think that was the right idea, right decision to take the shot. But again, man, it's a tough game to analyze. Guates and Mathieu were tremendous at the back. I remember this one play. I forget what minute it was in or what half it was in, but there's a Hector Herrera plays Marega in. I think it's Hector Herrera. Hector Herrera plays Marega in on the right, and Marega crosses the ball into a Boubacar, and Guates cuts it out with his calf, and it's like a cort providencial. It's like a game-saving cut on his part, and then Mathieu headers it out for a corner kick. I think Guates was monumental. Mathieu was monumental, aside from a couple of errant passes. Piccini, very good one-on-one. I disagree with Bruno saying that Brahimi had his number against Piccini. He did have his number when Piccini was being kind of like brought more towards the box. If Brahimi tried to play down the wing and towards the end line, I think Piccini had him handled in that area, because that's where Piccini excels. He excels on one-on-one defending. But again, Jonathan Silva's crossing is a little dangerous when it comes into the area. It's not as accurate as I'd like it to be, but aside from a couple of decent crosses that Dost couldn't get on the end of, I didn't like Jonathan Silva's game. Battaglia was good in some aspects of his game in terms of recuperation and breaking up some plays. William, I always thought William was able to desmarcar himself from any time a Porto player or two try to get on top of him. I think he did well, but like I believe Bruno also mentioned, Porto did a good job of pressing him and preventing him from creating from being essentially Sporting's quarterback and starting the attack, which is why Sporting struggled in that regard. Acuna, too much defending, too little offense. Like I said earlier, I really liked it in the second half when Gelson and Acuna switched flanks and played as inverted wingers. It seems to me like there's more jogo interior when they do that. When they don't do that, we're strictly relying on wing play. There's nothing in the middle other than waiting on Arsaka and for somebody like Bruno Fernandes to take a shot from meia distancia. But a lot of guys didn't play up to what I would have expected them to play in a classic. But all in all, Rui Patricio clearly man of the match for that massive save on Abubakar on that through ball that Abubakar's put on through where Kwach is found caught flat-footed. Those Rui Patrice fingertips are worth millions of dollars with that save. That other save where he's wrong-footed when the ball comes off the crossbar and then it's headed back by Abubakar and he makes the save with his left hand while he's going in the opposite direction. Another massive save. And I really think, we're lucky. We're lucky to get out of that game with a draw. I'll take it. Now it's just time to regroup and come back stronger after the international break. But definitely kudos to Porto. They came to Alvalade to win. Got a shout out to the Super Dragões. They were making noise. I was disappointed at points throughout the game where I was hearing them singing instead of Juve Leonina and the Brigada and the Diretivo. But it just is what it is. So got to give credit where it's due. Porto should have got a little more out of that game, but a point, I guess, at the end of the day is not a bad result for Porto. They still stay on top of the table. And Sporting, got to be happy with the point after, once you look at the tape and you see the way the game went. So at the end of the day, I think a point apiece is not too bad. And we got away with one there.
Wow, not at all. Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I agree with what both you and Steph said. I think we didn't really deserve to win, but I'll take a point better than a loss, definitely. For me, Gelson, I was really disappointed in him. I have been over the last few weeks. He's not been the Gelson of last season, the Gelson who gets assists and does skills, but not too much and keeps the ball. Gelson needs to learn how to pass. It's like he's just forgotten how to pass or how to cross, which is really disappointing considering how good he was last year. And like I said at the start, it also affects Bastos, it affects Bruno Fernandes, it even affects Piccini when he has to come forward and try and get the ball off let's say, Alex Telles when he dispossesses Gelson. So it affects the whole team, just Gelson not playing very well. Battaglia as well, I don't know what was wrong with him. He kept misplacing a lot of passes, some needless fouls. I'm surprised that he wasn't bought off, just for Alan Rees or whoever. I think was Podence on the bench in this game. I think he was.
Podence made a cameo in like the 89th minute. Remember?
Oh yeah,
came on far too late.
Of course,
came on far too late to make any type of difference in the game.
For that one play, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm surprised he wasn't bought off sooner. Like I said as well, Bastos obviously he's not getting the service, but when he does, I still think he needs to, like Steph said, needs to find the open space. It's not going to come to him just out of nowhere. He has to try and find the open space. We've been talking about Rui Patricio, and that performance reminded me of the whole Euro 2016. Just how good he was, the saves he was making. I think that is like determined his place, that he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, not just in Portugal, in Europe, the world. I really think he's up there. I think he's very underrated as well from lots of different European teams. Excuse me. And like you said, the defense was solid. Mateo and Coates, the two patrons of the team. I got that nickname from you actually, Mike. So shout out for the patron nickname for Coates there.
Patron, baby, those guys are patrons back there, man.
Yeah, and like you said, it's the reverse of last season. Last season we were fantastic on the attack and shit on the defense. Now we're shit on attack, and the defense is much better than the attack.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have no questions at all about our defense this year. That thing is solid. Jorge Jesus clearly looks like he put a lot of work into his defense.
I thought Piccini didn't play too badly. Obviously, like Bruno said, that Brahimi was obviously very good and did cause Piccini a lot of problems. But Piccini has been playing much better than he has over the last 2 games that Piccini has played. I think he's been very good. He's showed signs of improvement. He shows signs of that he wants to keep improving, and I think he plays really well off some of the players like Battaglia and William, and even the Coatism of Teu.
Sam,
Yep.
it's Bishini. Bishini, like, you know, like Bishina, like what Jonas usually throws himself into. That's what it is, like Bishini. Please, please, we have to make that very clear for your fans. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Fair enough. If I pronounce anything else wrong, just tell me as well.
Piscina.
I'm just teasing with you. I just had to throw my 2 cents in because I always have to throw that little dig in. Yes.
Well, I have a question for you. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, Bruno, this isn't the time or place, man. This isn't your show, buddy.
I had to throw it in there, man. I know that the Sportingistas would have loved that.
And no, that's fine. You can say whatever you want to say. But I do have a question for you. On minute 79, the ball, when the referee and the linesman looked at each other, it couldn't make the call if the ball was out for Porto or Sporting, and then basically Abubakar was by himself, and then Rui Patricio, he pulled another great save. Otavio, he got the ball, and then he crossed it to Abubakar.
To Marega.
Yeah. So that play, was it off Ibrahimi or off Piccini?
To be honest with you, I'm not even sure myself. I would have to. I didn't even get a chance to see the replay. I saw the game once, and it was like really fast. I'm not 100% sure what it was. I'll tell you this much: if the ball went in, the controversy that would have been absolutely ridiculous.
Well,
That's
they
for sure.
looked at video arbitro.
You would hope so, but the way things are in the league these last couple of games, it seems like it's hard for the video referee to even get involved. It doesn't seem like the video. I keep on saying that on the 3Tugas podcast, and I'll say it again here. It seems like in Portugal the referees do not know when to go to the VAR. They just seem confused. Do I go? Do I not go? When do I go? How do I go? Where? They just seem so confused, and that's a shame because it's a great resource. And if they have to go there 5 times or 8 times throughout the game to make a clear call, but at least make the correct call, it's too many games. And I'm not just talking about the big 3. It's too many games in which the referees do not go to the VAR and they don't get the correct call.
Bruno, just to clarify for anyone listening who doesn't understand how it works, the official on the field cannot request advice from the VAR. The video assistant referee has to make a suggestion to the ref on the field, like, "Hey, I think there's something wrong with this play. Let me review it real quick before you make the decision that you just made stand on the field." The ref on the field can't go to his microphone and be like, "Hey, VAR, should I call this penalty or not?" The suggestion has to come from the VAR. Exactly. And that's where the problem lies. Exactly. The problem lies with the VAR turning blind eyes to plays rather than looking at plays completely from start to finish that need to be looked at. There's 4 plays, in case people don't know. It's mistaken identity when players are carded. It's when a penalty is either awarded or not awarded. It's for what else is there? Penalties, mistaken identity. Damn, why am I forgetting the other 2 right now?
Offside.
Offside.
No, it's not offside. Not offside is not one of the
offside on goals.
Like all goals have to be reviewed. The beginning of the play to the end of the play for every single goal has to be reviewed by the VAR. So that would include an offside call. But damn, I'm forgetting what else it is right now, and I apologize for that. But you could check it out. You could go on Twitter. The Portuguese Federation put out an actual Twitter account called @VideoArbitro, where you could learn all the information about it as to when the VAR comes into play throughout the course of the game. I'm remembering this one play in the game against was it Moreirense, I believe, where the player from Moreirense, Piccini, puts the ball out of play, but we get a corner awarded for that play, and then we score from that resulting corner. You guys remember what I'm talking about, Sam?
Yep.
A play like that cannot be reviewed by the VAR because the goal was clean. The play that was bad was the bad decision on the field, awarding the corner kick as opposed to awarding a goal kick. You know what I mean? So something like that, the VAR wouldn't come into play. The VAR comes into play for cards, for penalties. Damn, I'm forgetting what else it is, but you guys get the gist.
Yeah.
Well, remember, I think if the goal was scored, I don't know if we were going to hear "aguenta, aguenta, aguenta." I don't
it's
know if
actually
you're
it's. I'm sorry. It's I just looked. I just pulled up the information just to be clear. It's to check the goals and whether there was a violation during the buildup. It's for all penalty decisions, whether or not they're awarded, for red card decisions, but not for second yellow cards, just for straight red card decisions, and then for mistaken identity when awarding a red or a yellow card. Those are the 4 opportunities that the VAR could suggest to the referee on the field to visit the video, to do the sign with his hand that he's going to go look at the video screen to get some assistance on the field. But the ref on the field cannot ask the video referee for assistance on the play. If the VAR isn't suggesting anything, it's fair game. The call on the field is going to stand, whatever it may be controversial or not.
Exactly.
Well, these VARs have to stop with the tube 8 watching during games, and they have to start focusing on the job that they're getting paid for.
I don't know if the FPF has a Brazzers.com on the payroll or something like that. I don't know what's going on over there.
They're watching too much YouPorn.
It's that simple, Mike. You got it. It's the VAR referee is the one that has to make the call, and then if the referee on the pitch, that's the part I don't like. He could decline it. He could say no. I'm still standing with my decision. That's the
absolutely.
That's the part I don't like. Like they should be forced to look at it. Like, listen, I'm seeing something, and why don't you want to look at it? That could be, that could be looked at. O que é que estás a esconder, pá? What are you hiding? Why don't you want to look at this play? So that's the only thing I would like the league to change and say, no, if the VAR referee is telling you to look at it, go and look at it. That's it.
Yeah, it's like the game, what was it, the Benfica Portimonense game. Benfica's first goal comes from a foul by Luizão in midfield. That's the beginning of the play that leads up to the goal. That's all part of the review that the VAR has to conduct on a goal. Exactly. The VAR said absolutely nothing about it, and the goal stood, and Benfica took a 1-0 lead.
Well, don't forget, we can't forget who we're talking about here, and we all know that in Stade de Luz, the VAR does not function correctly in the Sistupão. I apologize to your fans. The correct naming of the stadium is Sistupão. It just doesn't work there.
But they did find the cause of it. It needs to be calibrated in the Stade de Luz.
Yeah, because they're watching the wrong feed. They're watching the Benfica TV feed, I think.
Yeah, it's not calibrated properly. So there's someone from Conchichina to calibrate it.
Conchichina or what?
You got it, bro. So anyway, this game with Porto, like everyone agrees, the vast majority, Porto played better. But it's one of those games that, as a Portuguese, I say, I'll take the draw.
All day, every day.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take the draw too. And Sporting's house, last year we lost there, so I'll take the draw too.
Yes.
The result was sabe bocadito pouco for the Portistas because of the performance that we had, in particular in the first half. But, the draw wasn't that bad. I mean, and again, I think the key is also that, we didn't lose, but also os Cadeirenses didn't win in a very difficult stadium in Madeira. And the distance between the teams still remain the same. And now Porto has some tough games coming up, but I think Sporting's schedule is going to be the true test. How good is this team when you have to play back-to-back games with Juventus? And I think you guys have to go to Chaves. Is that correct?
Yep.
Chaves away. Rio Ave, Braga, they're all like back-to-back those games.
Yeah, we have...
That's going to be a tough test.
We have Taça de Portugal against Oleiros, which is the Portugal division. It should be an easy game. Well, we always find a way to make it difficult. Then we play away at Juventus. Then we play home against Chaves. Then we play home again for the Taça de Liga against União de Madeira, and then we go to Rio Ave, and then we play against Juventus, and then we play Braga. I'll leave it at that. That's until the 5th of November. So we have some tough games. Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
Is there anything else anyone would like to add to the game, or
Yeah, I got a question for the Portistas, if I may. What do you guys make of the huddle post match and Sérgio Conceição letting the players know that they're going to be champions this year? Because you obviously know that could work for or against the players psychologically speaking. What's your take on it, Bruno and Rich?
Rich, you want me to take this, or do you want to go?
No, take it. Take it.
Listen, I think that first of all, coming out in the media, it's taken out of its context, because he did say, if you continue to play this way, we will be champions. Everyone's just focusing on we will be champions. But remember, he said, if we continue to play this way, we will be champions. So if they continue to play this way, and I don't see anyone else in Portugal playing at the level that Porto's playing right now, and I'll emphasize right now, Porto will be champion. But there's many games left. Players and teams drop and go up in form each and every season. We all, and the last 2 years we've seen. A couple of years ago was Sporting. Last year was Porto. Second half of the season, we started seeing the Coutinho effect go into play. I don't know if the dynamic of the Coutinho has changed or not in the league. We will wait and see. But I am still very skeptical to see if the Coutinho is going to be stepping in or not. Because remember, the last 2 seasons, Porto and Sporting were a little bit ahead of Benfica, and then all of a sudden, they stopped losing points. They started continuing to accumulate points, and it didn't seem like they were going to be stopped anytime soon, because all the tough games, they were getting carried to the title, and then Porto and Sporting started dropping points, and they were getting controversial calls always called against them. So I understand what you're trying to say, Mikey, about the question. I don't look too much into it. I just say if they continue to play the way they are, they're going to be champions. Rich, go ahead.
We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what happens in May, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's way too early. I mean, come on, dude. We're in October.
Yeah, it's way too early for anything. I got to tell you something. I mean, I think the dynamic about the Coutinho and the os oito padres e vouchers, I would like to believe that's part of the past. It's the water under the bridge. I could see the referees now doing a much better job, even in favor of the so-called smaller teams, not being afraid to call a penalty against Sporting, Benfica, Porto. That would be my high for today. Would be the referees in Portugal. They're doing a better job, exception for the VAR referee. They need to grow a pair of balls and make the proper calls. But besides that, I think Benfica, we don't have any Benfiquista here, so I feel funny talking about it, because I always like someone from Benfica to be here so they can defend their own club. But Benfica this year, the goalie is a problem, and the defense is a problem. And the Porto and Sporting, my Sporting, they should take advantage of it. Especially Sporting, we haven't won a league title since 2001, 2002. This year, this is the perfect year. So I don't think Porto is invincible. They will lose points for sure. So what Sérgio Conceição said, like Mike said, it could backfire on him big time. But at the same time, it's a motivation tool for those Porto players, and you could see them playing a Porto con raça. I haven't seen that since the 90s. So I am kind of skeptical and a little bit of scared of Porto, the way they're playing. But I have my total confidence in my club, and I think we'll strive and we'll pull away with the title.
One can dream. Well,
Hope you're right, Steph. Hope you're right, baby.
And if that's the case, me, Mike, and Sam will meet in Portugal to celebrate the title.
if you're paying,
that's right,
Steph,
baby.
I'm down. If you're paying.
If I'm paying, you closer than me, goddammit. I have to fly.
Yeah. Come on, man. You know you got a cheaper flight
Sam,
on
you can swim
EasyJet.
there.
True.
And I have to deal with my Benfiquista wife. Basically, it'll be a divorce or something.
Well,
Yeah,
we
no,
gotta be
if
careful
it does
when
come to that,
Benfica starts
I
paying the witch doctor. Then that's when they're gonna start winning again.
hope Sornaga.
Naga. That's Mikey's go-to guy when things are going wrong. He goes to Professor Naga. That's it. Mikey's in. He's in.
Tá calado, meu professor Naga. Gosta de levar nas Nagas. Yeah, meu. Okay, Sam. So, you want to talk about Barcelona for a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
So that Barcelona game. Crowd was magnificent. Atmosphere was magnificent. The chance of Cristiano Ronaldo by the clock when the fan ran onto the field to kiss Messi's boot was fantastic. Sporting played a decent game, man. Sporting had an opportunity to not only get a draw, but possibly even win. If it wasn't for that one silly mistake, it really is nobody's mistake. The ball took like 4 or 5 deflections, and then it unfortunately hits Squatch and ends up in the back of our net. We end up losing by a goal. But I think if there was ever an opportunity to beat Barcelona, that was the game. We were just a tad bit unfortunate. Again, Bas Dost, instead of just slotting the ball home, decides to pass it to Bruno Fernandes. I think had Bas Dost taken that shot, he would have scored. We would have been talking about a draw and a much better result for us, which also would have been a good result for Barcelona, grabbing a point away from home in the Champions League. I think we played very well defensively. Battaglia, I think, had a hell of a game. He was all over Messi. He was able to contain Messi apart from a couple of runs here and there. I think Mathieu was magisterial, especially on that one play where Messi was put clean through and Mathieu ran back with him and slid and he did a slide tackle and cleared the ball away. Mathieu's actually done that a couple of times. He also did that once against, I believe it was Abubakar in this game, in the Clásico, where he made the right decision to go down inside the area and get the tackle right. But that Barcelona game, it was fun to watch. The commentators, the British commentators that were calling the game on Fox Sports here in the United States, they were obviously saying, Barcelona is playing poorly. They're not playing that well. I think I had to, rather than saying Sporting was playing well defensively, I think Sporting held their end of the bargain well in terms of defense. We weren't able to create much, obviously, because Barcelona, they're probably one of the best teams, if not the best team, at recuperating the ball and closing spaces down when they don't have the ball. I think we did pretty good against them. We showed well, but we just came up a little short. We didn't have anything to show for it. But I think, we let Europe know that we're not going to be a walkover in this group, and we more than likely made Juventus realize that they're going to have to study some tape to play against us, that they can't just come and expect to play the way that they play normally, and they think they're going to get a result against us. Not this Sporting, not this year, not with the defense that we have, and not with the help that we have on the wings helping our fullbacks, because I think Gelson and Acuna have been fantastic in doubling up and helping our fullbacks when it comes to defending in a low block. I think they've been fantastic, especially the way they did against Barcelona. We limited Barcelona to what do they have? Probably 1 or 2 major chances, if that. Rui Patricio didn't have much work, if you guys think about it. There was a Messi header that was right at Patricio in the first half, and I think like 1 or 2 other opportunities that weren't even glaring opportunities for them to score. We really limited their offense in that game, and a lot of that had to do with Battaglia cleaning a lot up in the midfield. William had a very good game as well in that midfield, and I think that's where we're strong. I think Battaglia and William, throughout the course of the season, they're going to learn how to play off of one another better, and I think it's only going to get, that partnership is only going to get stronger. And I may be, going on a limb here and saying this, but there's a slight possibility that their midfield partnership might very well be better than the William and Adrian partnership, because Bataglia is showing a lot of signs of being able to cover a lot of ground, of recuperating a lot of balls, typically playing the right pass and making the right decision. And the guy has more of a motor than Adrian does. He doesn't get burnt out when it gets to the 75th, 80th minute, especially if you look at the Clásico and the game against Barcelona. We're talking 90th minute. He's making tackles that you make in the first 15 minutes with that kind of energy. Like, he has a motor and a half on him for a position of the field where you got to cover a lot of distance and run a lot. So I think there's a slight possibility that, he could, him and William could really form a formidable partnership in that midfield. And typically that's where games are won, or in the midfield. And if we could beat other midfields with their partnership and, them playing well together, I think it's going to bode well for Sporting in the future.
Yeah, actually, it came out today on the Portuguese newspapers that JJ is working on Bataglia. He wants him now to be the number 6 and giving the position of number 8 to Limo Carvalho. And basically the position 9 would be for Bruno Fernandes. But also he wants to look for a replacement for Bruno Fernandes. He's not going to last every game 90 minutes. He needs a good, valid option, which will bring value to the team when Bruno Fernandes is not playing. So that came out on the news today. I haven't.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to interject, and that substitution for Bruno Fernandes is not called Bruno César.
No,
that's for sure.
Well, he did pretty well, but it's exactly the way it should be, Bruno César. Only for 15, 20 minutes max. He should never start a game. Never. He's a valid option to come in for Jonathan Silva or Fábio Coentrão or the Acuna, because he could play at multiple positions. I'm okay with that, because when he came in against Porto, he did okay. But he needed to come in because the players were exhausted. Bruno Fernandes.
Truly and honestly, the only reason why Bruno Fernandes is on this team is because Jorge Jesus admires his versatility and reliability.
You mean
Jorge Jesus
César?
knows that.
You mean Bruno César?
Yeah, Jorge Jesus knows that. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You mean Bruno César? You said Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Bruno César. Yeah, Jorge Jesus relies on him, and he knows he's versatile. He knows he can cover various positions on the field, and he knows he can always count on him to do a job. Whether or not he's going to show up and be the top performer on the team, I doubt it. Is he ever going to be a starter? Not on this roster. But he is a role player. He can fill a lot of roles on the team, and that's why he's always going to be one of the 3 substitutes if Jorge Jesus decides to use all 3 in a game. He's always going to be one of them. No matter what game we're playing in, you can always expect to see Bruno César come on the field. But honestly...
But the problem is, you said he should be, but he was a couple of games ago. He did start. Why? Tell me.
He started that Taça da Liga game. That's the only game he started, was the Taça da Liga game.
No. After that, he started another game, and which pissed me off. Against Moreirense, he started the game. It was him and Alan Ruiz. We started the game with 9. Everybody was complaining.
Oh, yes. That's right. You're right.
Everybody was complaining about that. How the fuck this guy can start a game? Seriously.
That's right, because he was trying to keep guys fresh for Barcelona. That's why.
Exactly. He was thinking ahead about Barcelona when we should be thinking about the Portuguese league. We haven't won in 15 years.
That's right. We tend to give our opposition 45 minutes in advance in the Portuguese league, especially when we go away to those smaller camps.
Indeed. But anyway, I have a question for everybody, and this is a little bit off topic. But what do you think what's going to happen with Barcelona if Catalonia becomes independent? Should they play in the Spanish league, or they should come up with their own league?
The Spanish league, for me.
They can't, because they became their own country. They can have both of best worlds.
Yeah, where else would they go? Create their own league, and who would be in it? Just Barcelona.
Steph, I don't know if you saw, but FIFA has already notified the Spanish Federation that if they do indeed kick out the Catalan clubs, they will not be allowed to participate in the next 2 World Cups and the next 2 Euros.
They're not, but that's unfair, though. They're not kicking them out. They're becoming an independent country. So, what are you saying that Sardinia from?
Monaco play. Monaco plays in the Ligue 1.
Yeah, but
So
Yeah,
and
Monaco plays
they're
in
not
Liga.
part of France.
but that's
Swansea and Cardiff play in England.
but that's an agreement they've reached for the longest time. But the Spanish.
Listen. I hate to tell you, what is going to be La Liga without Barcelona and Real Madrid? It's not going to be the same.
Well,
It's going to be a one-team league. Right now, it's a two-team league. It's going to be a one-team league. That's just stupid. They need to get over themselves and stop it.
I agree with you, but what's going to be Barcelona without the Spanish league? It's going to be them and Espanyol.
Well, they'll go. I would not be surprised either. They go to the EPL because EPL already made it clear that if they're not going to stay in La Liga, they're going to put them in the EPL. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going to Ligue 1. I would not be surprised with that.
The Portuguese league, Liga Nos.
No, Liga.
Do you ever want to win the Portuguese league? Because that's never going to happen with Barcelona in there.
We'll never win.
No, it will not happen.
We'll never win again.
Well, no, that's another thing. I think a lot of players would want to leave. They're not going to stay.
Yeah, no, there's some serious political unrest going on there in Spain between the Catalans and the Spanish Federation and the Royal Spanish Police and everything. I'm sure everybody saw everything on the news. It's a very difficult situation over there. Even Piqué was in tears talking about the political unrest and the fact that Barca had to play behind closed doors this past weekend against Las Palmas. I actually have a friend who's on vacation from the States. They're in Barcelona, bought tickets to go see Barcelona against Las Palmas at the Camp Nou, and then all of a sudden they had to play the game behind closed doors. He was devastated for that because that was going to be one of the highlights of his trip. But again, if Catalonia is to secede from Spain, I don't think Catalonia is going to be able to create its own league. Like you said, who are they going to have? Espanyol and Barcelona playing against each other, and maybe other little like regional teams that'll be created to make a 10-team league like the Scottish Premiership or something, for example. I think if that were to happen and they were to be kicked out of La Liga, I'm with Bruno. They'd more than likely probably join Liga, just like Monaco did, as its own like principality. And, based on the agreement that they have, I think Barcelona would probably just join that league because of the proximity. Wouldn't be much traveling as opposed to having to join the Premier League. But no neutral soccer fan wants to see that happen. Every neutral soccer fan in the world wants Barcelona to stay in La Liga. I just think it's a difficult situation politically for them, and the way the world is nowadays, where nationalism and populism growing as opposed to globalization. With globalization taking more of a back seat these days, people are more prideful and things like that. So it's a very tough situation, and I certainly don't have the answer for it, but it would be terrible to see a La Liga without Barcelona in it. Like Bruno said, it would be a one-team league with Real Madrid. Maybe Atletico would continue to push them, but nobody would want to see that. Nobody.
Steph, I actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
I would not. Do you believe that if Barcelona does get removed from La Liga, would you believe that maybe UEFA would step in and really start the European Super League?
They're already talking about it.
Yeah, they're already talking about it, and as the latest I've seen about that, they're not going to touch it up until 2021-22. The Champions League still will exist until 2021-22. So with that said, is they talking about it behind closed doors. They're really serious about it, actually. So after 2021, foda-se, quem é que tá andando de moto, caralho?
Sorry, that's some loud ass Harley just drove by my house, and I'm on a corner with the windows open. So apologies for that.
No, that's cool, bro. It sounded like.
Pensava que estava a mandar peido.
Nah, eu pensava que alguém estava.
No.
Pensava que...
Only when I eat Mexican do they sound like that.
But anyway, so after 2021-22, that's when we'll see some changes for sure. So they guaranteed the Champions League until those dates. But that's a good question. Yeah, the Superliga, it will exist at one point. That's why they came up with the European Union. The European Union is supposed to be like the United States. Like we have 50 states. I don't know how many countries there's in the European Union. They're supposed to form one league. So I wouldn't be surprised to see most of the Portuguese teams in a second league, and maybe just one or two in the Super League. It's shameful to say, but that's the way it's looking like it will be in the future.
I don't ever see the European League coming about. I honestly don't, because then you have to exclude this team and that team, and the seasons are going to become very long because you have to have at least one team from every country. I don't know where you're going to get a team from Andorra. I don't know.
No.
I don't even know which team is from Andorra.
It's not.
But I'm saying you're not going to see those type of teams in that league. I mean, then you could have basically what you're going to have. You're eventually going to have an add and drop, promotion relegation type Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, so on and so forth. We're going to see top 5 leagues dominate the first division, and then it's everybody else in the second, third, and fourth, and so on and so forth. It's just going to kill European soccer. Like Bosman already killed European soccer. It just made it. This would just completely decimate it.
I don't know because it would be. It's for some people it would be cool to be able to see Juventus against Barcelona, every year, twice a year, and then a Sporting against Real Madrid. You know what I mean? So it's how you look at it. But to answer your question about Andorra's team being in the Super League, that's never going to happen. They're going to have a similar ranking system like they have in the Champions League now. A few teams with the highest ranking from Spain and the top 5 leagues will have more teams in that league. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and then if you want any type of parity in a league like that, you'd have to institute some form of salary cap, or else it'd be the same thing like it is now with the Champions League. Always the same 4 or 5 teams competing for the title.
Yeah,
so they would have to change.
I agree.
They would have to change many rules to be able to give a little bit of parity to a league like that, or else we're just going to be watching super games amongst super clubs where the same 4 or 5 teams win it every year.
Yep.
And something like that will get old really quick.
Yeah, they would have to come up with a same system as the NFL, which is the most successful league in the world, with the commissioner and with the salary cap and controlling it. A very similar system like that, and then it would work. You would see different champions every year.
I hate to interrupt the conversation, but we've got 4 minutes left, so we need to.
Hold on, I just have a quick question. So I just have a quick question, Sam. I'm sorry.
Guys,
so if that does happen, the Super League, are we going to see more penalties called against the Cadeirenses?
It's quite possible.
No. The Oid Padres and vouchers, that it will disappear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Sam. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, guys. Sam doesn't have any more tea, so we gotta.
It's 2 a.m. to be fair, so it's
Tesco's is closed now, so.
I think there's a 24-hour one around the corner. But,
Do you have your pajamas on?
No.
He's free balling. R.I.P. Tom Petty.
Okay, so Sam, I just have a few things from the sporting universe. Won't take too long, okay?
That's fine.
Okay, so on so people understand, Sporting has a total of 54 modalidades, and on our podcast, I always bring it up, so if you find interest in it, great. If you don't, hey, maybe one day you will. So on the 28th of September, for the first time in our club history, our table tennis team has reached the Champions League group stage. So we played against a champion of France. It's called Poisy-Cergy, and we won in their own stadium 3-1, or pavilion. The handball team, we lost against Porto 26-23, so good for you, Bruno. Porto is one of the best teams in handball in Portugal, together with Sporting and Benfica and ABC. So it's not a big deal because now it's it's similar to the NBA. The first top six, they'll qualify for the playoffs. So then on the 30th of September, the U15 Iniciates, we won away in Cover de Piedad, 2-0. The Juvenis, U17, we won 6-1 against KV. Table tennis again, the Super Cup, we won the Super Cup of Portugal against the São Cosmos TMC. It's a club from Açores. They actually play real well. Then in juniors U19, we tied away in Vitória de Setúbal or Vitória FC, like they like to be called, 1-1. The ladies, they went to Braga and they won 2-1. This game was a tough game. Braga and Sporting, they're the best two teams in the ladies league. The goals were scored by Diana Silva at minute 45 and Ana Capeta at minute 85. And Ana Capeta, usually she always scores against Braga. And keep in mind, she's only 19 years old. So this young lady, she's going to be something else for the national team. Then in judo, Jorge Fonseca, he won the silver medal in the Zagreb Grand Prix. So that's a big deal. The B squad, they won at home against Santa Clara 4-3. What a game. 7 goals. 3 scored by Jason Dalla, a hat-trick, and 1 assist. He was man of the match, and it's about time that JJ gives him a chance. Last but not least, Braga Sporting in futsal won in Braga 4-1, which is an excellent final score because typically it's always Sporting, Benfica, or Braga winning the title in Portugal. So that was a big win. And today we won for the Champions League in handball, 31-30. Second win in the Champions League against a team from Moldova, Sekos Ski, and I can't pronounce it, but we won, and that's it.
Steph, you forgot one more result, Steph.
Qual é?
O Stefano Teixeira ganhou o Champions League no Pocket Pool.
Mas isso é à parte, meu.
Tá bem.
Isso tem que ser com vaselina e coisas assim, sabes como é que é? Okay, Sam, so now it's all yours, baby.
All right, I'd like to thank Bruno and Mike coming on and Rish as well for being such great guests. It was a pleasure to have you on. You're welcome back anytime.
It was a pleasure being on.
Thank you for having us, man. Thank you for having us.
No worries. And thank you as always to Steph for joining me. This has been episode number 8 of the Sporting Updates podcast. See you next week. Ciao.
Viva o Sporting!